Rio de Janeiro, one of the most iconic cities in the world, bustling with more than 6 million people. But in the middle of it, there's a natural wonder which makes it like no other.
I'm Joseph Roy, the Darwin leader from India. As part of the Darwin 200 project, I'm visiting the Rio de Janeiro. And here in the city of Rio, what I'm seeing is not the city, but beautiful forests of the Tijuca National Park.
The Tijuca National Park is a neotropical rainforest that is situated in Rio de Janeiro. Once part of the Atlantic rainforest, now it has become an isolated patch due to the urban sprawl.
Tijuca National Park is the smallest national park of the whole country, but in contrast is the most visited one, mainly due to the Christ, the statue, but not only. And it has around 4,000 hectares. It's situated in Rio de Janeiro city and represents a real important Atlantic forest remnant for the city.
This one island of forest in the middle of Rio is connected to more than 2 million people of the city. Cities create an increased heat zone around them, which we call an urban heat island. These islands of heat not only affects the lives of humans, but also changes the whole climatic structure of the area, leading to extreme climatic events. During the 18th century, Rio was faced with an extreme water shortage, and the advisor of the empire decided to go for a permanent solution rather than solving it there and then. That solution was the Tijuca National Park.
This part of Rio de Janeiro city, from 17th to 18th century, used to be coffee plantations. So what we see as forest, most of it were coffee farms. So they deforested everything. This causes, of course, massive extinctions of fauna and flora. But not only this, this also changed the water dynamics in the whole city, and this affected the water supply in the city that was below the mountain.
From creating rules to prevent buildings above an elevation of 100 meters and replanting more than 300 hectares of land, they created the Tijuca National Park, which has more than 4,000 hectares of lush green forest now.
So over the past few years, we've come to the point in the world where over half the world's population live in urban environments. So never has it been more important for us to bring nature to people, which is the fantastic thing about having this park on the doorstep of Rio for all the people from Rio to be able to come and visit it.
Atlantic forest biome was the most occupied biome in the whole country because the Portuguese started their colonization by the coastal part of the country. Nowadays we have 80% of the remnants has less than 50 hectares. So most of them are really small, and they are islands of forest surrounded by agriculture or urban matrix. And this causes massive defaunation in those areas. So nowadays we have some forests that have no fauna inside, or at least the biggest fauna is missing. If you consider the mammals, Tijuca National Park has 1/3 of the expected species that should be here if you don't have this island of forest. This defaunation causes what we know as empty forest syndrome.
When we see a forest, we think about tall green spaces. Especially in a city, people go there to get away from the noises of the town. While the forest can be places of tranquility, Tijuca was missing a major part that makes a forest what it is. It was the concerted harmony of life which creates, consumes, and rejuvenates each of its links. And this is when Refauna decided to make a change to the situation. They decided to recreate the links that were missing in the forest to make it from an empty one to a fully fledged celebration of life.
Brazilian tapir, blue and yellow macaw,
Red humped agouti,
yellow-footed tortoise,
brown howler monkey.
In the next episode, we will see how this mission is evolving and making the Tijuca National Park a thriving urban forest ecosystem. In the last episode, we saw the urban forests of Rio and how Refauna is working to make it living again. And today, let's take the story from there. The Brazil nut trees, or we call it the agouti trees, which has a thick pod to cover its seeds from being eaten. That is all good, but the pods are too thick that the seeds won't germinate until it is opened by an agouti. The agoutis eat a few seeds and bury the rest in the ground for their next meal, but sometimes they forget. With urbanization, Tijuca also lost its agoutis, making the trees incapable of having their next generation. When Refauna decided to introduce agoutis in 2010, the seeds started to get eaten and the whole cycle has rebuilt. Now, it is time for something big.
The Refauna started introducing howler monkeys in the Tijuca National Park in 2015. It was a group of 4 individuals, but unfortunately 2 of them had to be removed from the forest because they were interacting with the visitors. After that, the next year, in 2016, another group was reintroduced with 2 individuals, and from these 4 animals that were in the wild, 1 lost his radio and we haven't heard from him since 2017. The other one was found dead, so we were with 2 individuals, 1 male and 1 female, that formed a couple. They formed a group and started having 1 cub once a year since then, now forming this population of 8 individuals here in the Tijuca National Park.
Back-to-back reintroductions after 2015 to make the forest full of howlers. That was the original plan, but the yellow fever outbreak, which happened the next year, had a heavy toll on the howlers, and Refauna had to stop the reintroduction project. From that time, they were waiting. Again, the COVID pandemic kept the ban even longer. By now, the first release group has become a thriving family of 8 monkeys. Finally, in 2022, they decided to go forward with this next release.
For this next group that we're going to release this year, it's a family group. It's composed of 1 male and 6 females, and they are all daughters of him, except the 2 adult females that they are the ones that he reproduced with. So the other ones are all part of a big family. To make sure they are used to the sounds out in the forest, to the noises, to the smells of the forest. We are making sure that they stay a few months in the acclimatation pen, so they get used to the surroundings.
Initially, these animals were in captivity, and then we have a regular health checking schedule. But once they entered in the reintroduction project, we started to do a more intensive health assessment, basic exams, searching for parasites or blood measures, and especially for the howler monkeys, we tested yellow fever. We vaccinated these animals and tested them searching for antibodies. And then once they were considered to be okay to be released, they came to this wild enclosure, and then we are monitoring them.
We write down everything that we see. So we have different categories of behavior, so social behavior, individuals behavior. We write the place they were in the moment, the individuals that are close to each other, where the place they're walking by, who they are interacting more.
I search for fruits in the forest that I know that howler monkeys eat, so I can introduce on their diet, and we hope that this will increase their chance of survival after they're released and reestablish ecological interactions more quickly. It has been 6 years since we weren't able to keep up with the project because of the yellow fever outbreak, and now finally we are able to release this new group. The howler monkeys arrived in the forest in April, so they have been here for a long time, and we got really attached to them. We hope that it will be a successful reintroduction. It's very uncertain, but I feel very excited and hopeful.
In the next episode, we will see the future of what we have seen until now. All the waiting and the official processes have finally reached here.
It has been 6 years since we weren't able to keep up with the project because of the yellow fever outbreak, and now finally we are able to release this new group.
The howler monkeys produce one of the loudest sounds in the animal kingdom to mark their territory. But Tijuca stayed quiet because there was only a single family. In November 2023, the howler family in Tijuca is going to have a company. The forest is going to have the second group of howlers.
I'm very happy. I'll be happier when they are released, but we always focus on the moment of the release, but there's years of work and frustration and things that go wrong beside this. but things that go right too. And for me, I'm working with these animals, especially this group, since they were in captivity, and it's a pleasure to see them going to the wild again and having this opportunity to be free and live as they want to live, as they need to live.
To monitor these animals, we are going to put a jacket on the male with a VHF radio that we can follow the group and monitor them after they're released. And in addition to this, we are building grids of trap cameras that we hope to capture the original group that was released in 2015, as well as this new group, and maybe hoping that we capture some interaction of them, or which sites are they using most nowadays, because the group that is already in the wild don't have a VHF radio or any way to find them except active search. So that's a way that we can measure which sites of the forest they are using more.
The release of howler monkeys is just one of many links Refauna is trying to create in this project.
After the agoutis reintroduction in 2015, we started the howler reintroduction. Howler monkeys play a complementary role of agoutis, and we also realized that not only the agoutis and howlers were missing, but several other species were missing. And we started to not reintroduce one single species, but we started to trying to recover the whole ecosystem by several subsequent reintroductions. And we started with the agoutis, then came the howler monkeys, then the tortoises, and now we are going to reintroduce the fourth one, the blue and yellow macaw. So we need to measure not only the reintroduction success, but also what those populations are playing as ecological interactions.
We have taken out the links from the forest, and we have to work to create it back and make it a thriving ecosystem. We should realize that nature is part of our existence, and the changes should start from us.
How would you say to the younger generation, because that's where the ideas can be planted and where the ideas can grow, and they are the ones who's going to design the future of this planet.
They will, but we don't necessarily have the time to wait for the really young children to grow up. So the change has to start with us.
Right.
But I would say what we need now is for everybody to have a scientific based knowledge.
Right.
You know, we'll have tacit knowledge about our experiences of being in the forest, but we need to follow the science.
Right.
And the scientists need to communicate better.
Yeah.
They're very used to communicating with each other, but we need to communicate with the broader public.
Yeah.
This story is not ending here. It is just a beginning.
So we consider nature separate from humans, but in fact we're part of it.
Even in the city, we can find habitats that support life within them.
And the Tijuca National Park in Rio de Janeiro, one of the biggest cities in Brazil, is giving an example of it.
We know it's not perfect, but we are working on it. Ainda que não seja perfeito, nós estamos trabalhando para isso.
And this is what is creating hope for agoutis, howlers, macaws, and us. These people are showing us an example of staying hopeful and working together to make something beautiful and something that lasts for the next generations of our species.